Well, let's call the meeting to order. The agenda in front of us. Like I said, Alexis will join us if needed, or if anyone wants to, I'll get her, call her and get her on right away. Damien, did you get the email or the attachments yet?
Oh, not yet. I'm sure it's coming through here, so go ahead and see.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll skip item A until you actually get the scorecard. It's hard to talk about it if you don't have it to look at. So we'll just go to item B under superintendent search. Allow time for public comment on candidates. So those of you that are here, this is your opportunity. We'll allow 3 minutes, we talked about last time, per person. And if you'd like to discuss what your opinion is on candidates or the meet and greets. I will remind everybody that, okay, we're still on, we're still live streamed, okay? Which means that possibly the people we're talking about could be watching. So I would just encourage everybody to keep things positive, speak for who you want to speak for, and like I said, just try to keep it positive and respectful. So I guess with that, would anybody like to start or comment?
I can start. Okay, first off, I do want to remind everyone that I speak to second graders, not adults. So if I sound nervous, it's because I'm not used to speaking to adults. I like shorter audiences. So I do want to say thank you guys for opening the floor up and allowing us to have discussion. It's nice to know that you appreciate us being heard and our input. I appreciate your willingness to listen to our thoughts and concerns, and I hope that you will take them into consideration when deciding on the next superintendent. I feel like we have 3 good candidates, and I don't want to speak for or against anyone. I just want to say what I feel as a parent and a teacher are some important things to look at in all 3 of the candidates. So just take those things, okay, these are important as a parent in the school district and as a teacher in the school district. Obviously our first priority is always the students, having good relationship with the students, good student engagement, and curriculum and education, which I feel like all 3 of our candidates did speak to that. So I think that was great. Another thing to look at is staff relationships, whether it be with our administration or with each other, building and nurturing those staff relationships between both buildings, between interbuilding, just making sure that the lines of communication are flowing and that everyone is comfortable speaking to the superintendent, to each other. No one feels like they're going to get shut down if they have an idea. So having that openness to being willing to listen to everyone in the school district, that is parent or teacher. Good leadership, which means being a good follower, being able to admit that I don't know everything and I'm willing to ask for help when it's necessary. Superintendents shouldn't have to know everything. They're not in the classrooms every day, so having someone willing to say, hey, what do you think about this is really important, I feel. Integrity, being able to stand up for what is right, even when it's not the popular thing to do, is important. Humility, again, being willing to say, I don't know, let's figure this out together. And part of our community. I think it's really important that someone is a part of our community, because you can work in a different community and be part of the school system without being part of the community. And I did it for 2 years, and that's why I came back to Richardton, because it's not the same not living in, no matter how involved you want to be, there's still that limit of I have to go home, I have to drive there. And it's just not the same mindset if you're not in the community. And I feel like that is a really important aspect to look at. Again, I really thank you guys for taking the time, listening to us, asking for our input. And I really appreciate everything that you guys do and taking the time that you take out of your personal schedules to be willing to be part of our board and help our community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Comments? Questions, concerns? All right. Damon, have you gotten your attachments yet on the email?
Yeah, I did, thanks.
All right.
I think Alexis might be on.
Alexis, have you joined us?
I'm here.
All right, great, thank you. Okay, are you driving or did you find a place?
I am driving. I'm just leaving Flasher. But if you are ready for me for questions, I can find a spot to pull over and be ready to go.
Okay, I don't think that's necessary yet, is it? Unless anyone's got questions right away, but, okay, carry on. We'll continue with our meeting and you can get a few more miles down the road.
You need to stop.
So, okay, I guess with that, let's look at our scorecard. And I mean, at this point, it's up to you guys. I say whatever you guys want to do. Look at the numbers. Do we want to eliminate a person? Do we want to, I guess think about next steps. That's what we're here to do. I mean, we got it broken down per board members, per admin that have assisted us, and per total. We've also got emailed comments. We only have 2 emailed comments. Okay, one from Mr. Isaac. That basically states he met 2 of the 3 candidates, so he didn't really have an opinion on which one would be best for the position, but he gave his opinion on what would be important to him supporting his programs. Next comment was from Mr. Rakow, and D. Flat said his top pick would be Mr. Ziegler. So those are those 2.
I got an email as well. Was just sharing my thoughts on superintendent candidates. I like Russ and JR. I feel like Russ is someone who does the job for the right reasons. In my experience, working for West River, I know that an admin who does the job for the right reasons is very important. Is very important in our heart to come by for schools our size. So I'm not sure if she had the opportunity to meet all 3, but just brings up the 2.
Okay.
And then I think there's a few of us that got a text message from a community member. Let me see if I can find it.
I think I can find it too.
I got it.
You got it?
Yep. I've been watching the superintendent interviews. I cannot tell you enough how delighted I was to see that Russ Ziegler is a candidate. I cannot imagine someone better for the position at this time. I have had the privilege of working with Russ in the past and believe he would be an excellent addition to the district and the community. Thank you. So that's what I got. That's not there.
Okay. Damien, did you have any comments or people reach out to you?
No, I received one email that's listed already in the content that was already mentioned. No other formal communications.
Okay.
The other thing, I did have a phone call and then discussion face-to-face as well. No one really said what a choice. It was just concerns of what they think is important. A lot of it was being heard. A lot of the same things Ms. Adams said. Almost, for the most part, pretty spot on for the same thing between both the phone call and face-to-face. So I think that, you know, those were the things that were important for them as well.
Okay. Administration? No. Ms. Dr. Vogel, Amber, you guys have scored them and interviewed them all? What are your feelings? And it's up to you, if you don't wanna talk, I mean, we're broadcast live, I understand, I get it, so.
I would just say, as a still new admin, experience would matter to me personally, as we're looking at a new candidate, as someone who doesn't have to learn through their first year, because I'm going through that right now, and it's a lot, it's a lot to take in, and I think someone with the experience would be a more consistent support, not just for me, I think for everyone around, and like I mentioned in one of the interviews, what I'm looking for is that support, because I know when I can be at my best, my teachers are at my best, and when we're all at our best, our students are at their best. So to me, that's what stands out as probably a top thing for me to consider.
I would agree with Jesse. I mean, still fairly new to it too, and
Yeah.
I mean, it was very helpful with Mr. Bubbles coming in just for the year. I mean, where I didn't have to worry about, trying to show him around or explain anything to him, and so it would just, to me, experience would be a helpful thing.
Mine's very similar, just that we're lucky to have so many applicants, yet alone so many good applicants. But I guess mine was scored on experience, the difference.
My feelings were too, we had 3 really good ones. It was tough, I scored them all pretty close. But I kind of really looked at their personalities and stuff and their hair and what kind of person they seem to be off of how, the questions they asked them. And I felt Russ was the strongest. He answered the questions a lot more thorough, I think, when we asked the questions. He had, we'd ask him, how would you solve something, and he actually had good ideas how to solve different issues that arise, and I like that about it, him especially. But JR also had some very good answers also, I felt, you know.
Well, I'll duplicate most of what everybody said. They all three were, and if you, I mean, when you scored them, if you were fair, they all are very close. I mean, there's not a lot of difference. Russ just stands out in his experience with TPI and 2 years as superintendent, 7 years in our school district. We know him. So that's kind of where I'm at it with it too.
Anyone else?
I kind of agree for the most part. I would say that all three of them are very capable of doing the job. I scored all three of them within 2 points of each other. I kind of scored Cheryl a little higher. Honestly, my concern was what some of the staff had brought up about being part of the community. I think having somebody here is a big deal. We asked a lot of questions regarding the community as well. And I mean, for me, I was kind of splitting hairs on where to go and who to score higher. And I think for me, that's kind of where I gave the edge to Cheryl over Russ. Because she is going to be moving here and will be part of the community. And I know Russ is going to commute back and forth from Bismarck and has very legitimate reasons for it. But to me, that's a big issue. I mean, I really, that was the thing that kicked me over the edge with her. JR, same thing. I mean, would it have to be part of the community as well? You can't do the job from 200 miles away. And that's, why he was only one less than Russ for me is, Russ had more experience than JR, but I feel like being part of the community weighs that much on my decision for a lot of reasons.
Damien, would you care to chime in?
Yeah, overall, I agree that it was surprising, I guess, to see the candidates we did get, in terms of the quality, albeit only 3. So I guess on a high level, I'm surprised that there isn't more total superintendents candidates available across the state. But that's neither here nor there for where we're at right now. Personally, I felt like Mr. Ziegler didn't interview the best. He was just his interview skills itself. He seemed very nervous and struggled to answer very many of the questions. I really only got 3 of the questions out of the 16 that I thought he put together a very coherent answer that answered the questions. Whether that's a concern or not, I guess to me, the only thing that having someone who's nervous in an interview tends to show is that perhaps the nerves may challenge them to perform great in those really challenging situations, those tough conversations that a leader will have to have from time to time. So I did have him scored lower than Cheryl for that. I felt like Cheryl she's a top-notch type of a leader with just a large wealth of experience between her overseas and her just the diversity she's had in her career is impressive. Whether or not she fits in her community, that's something I like what we're doing now, where I was hoping for an open forum and to get more opinions on that. I agree with John that I would like to see a superintendent candidate that is long-term and that would live in the community. And I think we've shared the information there where both JR and Cheryl intend to live in the community, where Mr. Ziegler perhaps not for a while. I guess I do still have a question on Ziegler's experience of why he changed jobs, 3 different jobs in a 1.5-year time frame. It just stands out statistically as an oddity that I'd almost like either a follow-up or to understand that a little bit more. And then only spending 2 years in Elgin, why the desire to look at Richardton-Taylor versus Elgin for the same drive distance, the same, relative type of a district. Just some questions that are still on my mind. Not that I would put a lot of weight in either one of those, as long as there was a solid understanding or explanation of them. But I guess to be concise, Cheryl or Ziegler are both. I haven't made a firm decision between the two, honestly.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with most here that I scored Cheryl and Russ really close too. But I guess Damien, I disagree on the interview part. I just think Russ, I thought he did a good job on his interview. I was happy with his answers, but that's just my opinion. The distance thing I get on Mr. Ziegler, coming from Bismarck, but I'll tell you what I've witnessed in Elgin is that anytime I've gone to a basketball game, and they're all evening and night, he's there. He's at the scorer's table, working and helping out, so he was involved, even though it was from a distance. He was involved. He was there. So, but that was my observation, just from Elgin. I do like Mr. Ziegler. Both good. So I don't know where to go from here, guys. Where we should go from here, if you guys would like to do round 2 interviews. If we want to eliminate one and interview 2 more, you don't have to interview again by any means. It's like I said, this is your wishes. What does anybody wish to do? I mean,
The one thing I'd like to mention too is, I know Cheryl and JR both said they'd like to live here, but we know housing in town here is pretty tough. So, in essence, and JR has ties with Dickinson.
Well, yeah, whether it's 20 minutes away or it's an hour and 10 minutes is a big difference, I guess, is my, but I mean, and Cheryl did say that she was looking at what was available in our community already.
Yep.
So obviously there's intention of
I agree.
being there.
But we all know it's kind of tough to
Oh, absolutely.
find anything in town.
Right.
So, I know we do have, in the past, we've had a lot of teachers that commuted from Dickinson.
Still up.
Yeah, still up. And I don't feel I just me personally, I don't feel we need to do another round of interviews.
I agree. I don't think so either.
I feel I can make my decision tonight.
like I said, it's up to you guys. Damien, what are your wishes? There's no, I didn't have any intention to call for a vote or anything like that. It's totally what you guys want to do.
I guess beyond the vote, the piece that I would like to have some discussion around is in terms of compensation, what we're thinking there, in terms of what can be done for any form of a graduated performance bonus, some type of structure of how we're going to offer the contract is a discussion I'd sure like to have as the board. As far as the procedural, when that needs to happen versus a vote, I'm not sure if Alexis can chime in on that. That's what's on my mind.
I think as far as compensation goes, I think you would do that after you select your candidate. I do have the possibility of executive session if we got to that point tonight where going to executive session to discuss offers, contract bonus, any kind of deal like that would be executive session.
Yeah, so you would want to certainly tailor that conversation to whichever candidate you were going to offer. You could incorporate a performance bonus into their contract that would be legally allowable. I would have some recommendations on how you would do that if that's something you wanted to do. I don't want to say it's not typical of superintendent contracts, but it's not something we have seen often in the past. It's starting to pop up more frequently around the country with varied results, and I say varied results, not necessarily in regards to performance of the superintendent, but more often in regards to how well thought out it was done by the board, because it's a newer concept for superintendent contracts. The first districts to do it perhaps didn't do it as well as they maybe wished they had. They didn't necessarily establish metrics that were as clear as they thought they were to decide when a bonus was warranted and when it wasn't. And then upon, the timeline when they needed to determine if they would be giving a bonus or not, they had a really hard time saying no, a bonus wasn't warranted because their metrics weren't clear, or yes, it was. They've also struggled a little bit, or there have been problems with the perception just of a public entity giving a performance bonus at all. I don't think that's necessarily a negative thing, so long as you are really clear upfront in communicating to your public what you've laid out in that contract initially. So that's just very kind of the brief overview of what I think you would want to talk about before you did that. You would have those conversations publicly, but you'd want to structure the value of that compensation within your strategy discussions that happen in executive session and tailor them to that candidate after you decide on your candidate.
Alexa, I kind of like the idea, but wouldn't you be tying the hands of future boards by giving a bonus like that? Because the school district's money is depending on state funding. You don't know exactly how that's all gonna come out all the time, so I would be kind of afraid of tying a board's hand down the road. All of a sudden funding, one year we got 1%.
Dwayne, it's a good question. You are typically giving your superintendent contracts in, 2-year increments. Perhaps I wouldn't encourage you going any longer than those typical contracts. If you are talking a performance bonus that goes longer than your typical contract, it may start to get a little bit dicey. If you're keeping that performance bonus within the length of your typical contract, you're not tying the hands of a board any more than the contract already does. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And usually on a performance-based plan, your upfront isn't as high as what it normally would be, because you're hoping they're gonna achieve, you want them to achieve those bonuses,
Right.
essentially.
Right.
So your guaranteed money isn't as big as what it would be if you didn't have those in place. Typically.
Okay.
And we don't have a standardized sort of sample contract that reflects that yet. I mean, I've only started to hear about these happening for superintendents in the last 6 months. But our attorney could kind of work with you to advise you on how you would want to structure that.
I guess my intent with a bonus to explain that more is a lot of the feedback I've heard from community members, from staff of the district, is around the desire to see certain things go on. We heard a couple of them tonight, be it staff unity, be it, we mentioned ourselves some curriculum improvement. To me, it's as simple as just putting out a few of the KPIs, the key performance indicators, author that up to really be very direct about a yes, no, and some form of a graduated mathematical scale that, as John said, here's base, here's what, you're guaranteed, here's what we're willing to pay to see you lead the district through the things that we'd like to improve. It's a pretty standard thing in my mind in industries. And I think the reason you're seeing the push for it in public is just to have some tangible monetary method of trying to drive improvement outside of regulatory agencies or some other legislative method of achieving that. And frankly, it's more effective than trying to force in some type of regulation. I also wonder where we'll be at with, when I look at the number of superintendent candidates that we did get, and again, we had several good ones, but there's also a lot of openings across the state. I'm also wondering if we're going to get into a bid war, and that's one way to handle a bid war, with some level of value added to the district for what you're going to pay, if that's something that we get concerned with.
I'll piggyback on that a little bit. Also, I'm scared that if you don't come in high enough with your base pay and you put everything all into these incentives, you're gonna take people out of the pool.
Are they not confident in being able to hit the goals? I mean, it depends what the goals are, of course.
Exactly, yeah. And then.
Mine's heavily weighted on performance.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just, but that's the nature of my industry too.
Right.
It's not necessarily what it is now, like I said, the last 6 months, but. Yeah, I mean, I guess we're kind of, I think, getting a little bit ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
We need to figure out who we're gonna pick before we figure out how we're gonna do that.
Good discussion.
I don't know. I don't want to say that I'm necessarily ready to pull the trigger yet, because I truly am. I like all three. I'm leaning more towards Cheryl and Russ, experience, that kind of stuff, but nobody got experience without somebody giving them a chance either. I just don't know if us giving somebody brand new a chance is right for us either right now. So I would kind of lean more towards Cheryl and Russ for that reason. Just because we've got a lot of new administration as well. So I think that, obviously is a concern of theirs, so it's a legitimate concern. But I like them both. I don't think we necessarily could go wrong with either one. I just, like I said, I have, that one concern is a big one for me. And it, like I said, it's no fault of his own, he's in that situation where he has to. And as much as I don't wanna weigh it as heavily as I am, it's there. And like I said, we have to do what's best for our district as well. So I don't know. That's me personally.
Sure. Is anybody comfortable with eliminating one candidate tonight? I mean, is that a, you know, consensus on that maybe? You know, for the sake of letting that, you know, the person that you would eliminate know, and they can move on and still hold two for the next round, or however we wanna do it?
I'm concerned that the longer we push this out, there's four more open superintendent positions
Well, yeah.
since we interviewed.
Right. And if it's a situation where I'm the only one that's on the fence and everybody else can agree upon somebody, then so be it. It is what it is. I just, like I said, for me, I can't say this is who I'm gonna pick. I mean, obviously if.
Well, John, as I said before, I'm on the fence as well. I was hoping tonight to see some more input from the public. I was sure hoping for that. So, but I hear you, Shannon. Drawing it out could.
If we draw it out another week, we could lose somebody.
I just don't wanna lose anyone.
Yeah.
I really don't. We had three good ones that we narrowed it down to, and I mean,
Well, it's true, you know, you wait, the decision gets made for you sometimes.
right, it happened
But
to us
it's, like I say, whatever you guys
before.
do, if you wanna, I mean, if you guys are more comfortable bringing two more back and doing a second round of interviews, it's an option. Alexis will help us write a quick second round of interview questions, but you gotta kinda know what you wanna ask, or kinda know what you're, you know, what are you looking for in that second round of interviews if we do a second round? You know, what,
I mean, so like the people that aren't on the fence, is there any questions that are gonna be asked that would change your mind?
No,
possibly, I mean, I don't wanna say no on it, you know, because like we said, there's two that rise to the top for me.
Right.
And, yeah, I'd probably have some other questions for both of them, but I could also make a decision tonight. I'm okay with that.
Because I guess my concern is if, we don't need to go through the motions, just go through the motions. If three people are gonna agree on it, that's all it's gonna take. So if there's no sense in wasting time and resources to bring them in if it's gonna be the same outcome.
It's gonna be the same.
and then it's just a matter of getting them here in a timely manner and making it work with their schedules also. I mean, it's Cheryl's in Grand Forks, but I don't know if she's.
I think she said, she made the comment that she wasn't gonna be going back unless they needed her. Now, maybe they do need her, but yeah, she wasn't, I think she's going back unless they should.
She'd probably be available.
And even if it was a Zoom or a whatever, if she did happen to be down there, I guess if we did an interview last year over Zoom, so a second one wouldn't be, like, we're not catching, you know, we already know the personality and.
Yep, you could certainly do two interviews on Zoom and make it quick and convenient.
Yeah.
I don't wanna take it off the table and show it just to hurry up and do something either, right? So, you guys gotta be comfortable with this. Damien, thoughts on a second interview?
You know, second interview, the questions that I still have for Cheryl and Mr. Ziegler would be something that I could author and just get a written response would help me be more comfortable. I don't know if that's an option. I don't know if it has to be a formal or to your point, even a remote meeting would be fine by me, but I'm not sure where that stands. Alexis, you said we have to ask the same of both again, or I don't even know if we can get to the point where I can ask the questions I really want to, which is troublesome with the process in my mind, that I don't know if we can be so direct as to ask the questions that I want to have answered. And I'm not wanting to violate a FERPA type question. I've just got questions in my mind when I break down the interviews, you know, I'd just like to ask them directly, but I don't know if that's not possible, then I don't see the point in chasing it.
I think it would be possible to ask follow-up written questions. I would have to consult with my attorney on the right way to do it. If they're not follow-up questions to the original interview questions, if they're new questions, we would have to adhere to that same questions of each sort of deal. And their responses are going to need to be public record. So I just need to make sure that I outline to you a process that is correct in how we do that. I'm not exactly sure what that would be off the top of my head, but I believe there's a way to do it.
Okay.
She's a no man's land.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all right. Okay. Well, what are your wishes? Do you guys want to do a round two via Zoom? Do it quickly?
I want it to be done. I don't wanna lose the opportunity. Either one of these people could hook up with another school and be gone tomorrow. And I'm to the point where, I mean, if you wanna do a second interview or whatever, but I'm not gonna change my mind. I'm set.
Well, actually, I had JR higher than Cheryl, so in my mind, if we were gonna eliminate one tonight, it'd be Cheryl.
I guess the question is, if we do vote, are we gonna be able to work with the new superintendent? I think we will. I think whoever we hire, we're gonna be able to work with. But I think we really need to get it done.
Okay. I don't know what they don't wanna do. I'm good with doing a round two, if we can get it done, you know, quickly, like, can we get something done on Monday? You know, and then go from there too. I'm totally okay with that. I don't wanna push anybody into a vote here tonight.
I wouldn't be upset with either one of them. But any of the three for that matter. I can't say that I can pick one right this second. But I don't know, like I said, this, depending on what the second round of questions would be.
Well, does anybody know, can you guys answer to me what the one question I have with Mr. Ziegler is that changing jobs 3 times in 1 year for, for one, no increase in pay between two of the jobs, and then being at one for only 3 months. I guess I just purely empirical mindset of that makes me want to understand why. And if there's a good explanation for it, great, I would hope so. I guess that's one of the lingering questions in my mind. So I don't know if anybody knows that, but if I didn't gather that in the interview, if anybody asked that in their interaction with him.
When we talked to him, did he say that he switched? Wasn't it something, switching the same, kind of in the same, same roles, but they switched to a different name?
That was within the state, right? That we're
Yeah,
talking
for the
about?
state, he was working for the state.
Yeah, that's what yeah,
Did any of you guys remember that? When we, I know it was directly asked to him, that there was, when he switched from one position to the other.
yeah,
I think he was referencing the advanced ed and Cognia, so I don't know if those are listed separately on his employment history, but I think that's what he referenced.
That's what he was referencing.
If you went over his work history.
So he has listed from June of 15 to December of 15, so 6 months working advanced ed as the state director. Advanced ed is the now what's called Cognia, that's the school improvement process. Pretty short term time. Then he moved right to North Dakota Department of Public Instruction as the assistant director. Spent only 3 months in that role. And between those two roles that I just mentioned, he had a flat salary. And then moved to the assistant director of the North Dakota, the ND cell, which is the administrators, what do I want to say, association. And he spent 7 years there. But I'd like to understand. And then I did ask him the one question, which he answered, of just that it changes. But he had ranked himself in the force rank survey within the application as one of his lower adeptitudes was in Cognia, which is the following from the advanced ed process. He was the state director for the advanced ed. Just doesn't add up in my head of why. How are you the state director of a process and then you rank yourself low in that aptitude? So I just like a follow up on that, and that's one of the pieces that just to get me as you asked Jody to be comfortable.
I think just in that, didn't he say that it changed? Because I watched all the interviews twice after we went through them, so I'm fairly certain that he said that the process has changed since he was there. That's why he can rank himself as high, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I remember him saying that.
yeah, I remember that too.
Yeah, that's exactly what his words were. He didn't expand any on that. So
And these jobs are all within the state.
elected.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Alexis.
And I didn't watch his interview, but the advanced ed process has changed very significantly since Russ would have been employed there. And while he was employed at NDCEL and not working in a school district, so we do with our policy services, we do the templates and have to update according to that. So in my estimation, as someone who doesn't work with that on a daily basis, I would say that even if he was very, very familiar with it as the state director, it would be a wildly different process or different, set of standards from when he was there to today. So being, he would have some familiarity with it being back in a school system for the last 2 years, but not at the level to have been a state director again. So I that would be a reasonable answer to me, or a reasonable change.
He did say why he was leaving Elgin. I think he
told us that he was leaving Elgin because they were in a position that they thought that they needed less admin. They said that he was stepping away because they were going down to 2. Kind of something like that.
Their numbers are a lot smaller than us, as far as school size,
Yeah, I think about half.
about half.
Didn't it say
Well,
285 or something like that? I thought it said.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that very well. What was said about some of the reason for leaving Elgin? Is that what I heard?
He told us that Elgin was, they felt that there was too many admin and that he was stepping down because they were going down to like two admin there. That's why he said he was leaving Elgin.
175. I think 175 seems like they're
The 3 jobs for the state, I see as all state jobs. I think it was just moving departments or basically sideways moves in there, like. They're all still state jobs, they're all still in the Department of Education.
No, Jody, I don't think that's correct. The advanced ed job, from my understanding, would not be under the Department of Public Instruction, and for sure the ND cell would not be part of the Department of Public Instruction. That's a separate entity.
Okay.
Then as far as Cheryl, I guess the question I have there that I'd like to try to understand better is I can't get my mind past the idea of the amount of grants the gal wrote. I mean, $1 million in a year, that could be changing for a lot. I'd hate to deny our district of that opportunity, but I'd almost like to see proof of that a little bit more before I put an enormous amount of weight in that. But that is something that's large enough that it's hard to ignore, is the idea of that kind of capability to bring in financials. I mean, the easiest way to handle financial problems is to have more finances. So that was just very interesting to me, and I'd like more clarification on that.
JR made a good comment about grants too. He said almost anybody can write a grant and get grant money. But then he said that after 3 years, the grant money runs out, then you're out of funding, then you have to cut programs and that. So grant money is good, and yet it can be not good too. I mean, there's different ways of looking at writing grants and what.
Well, there's a lot of different kinds of grants
Right.
out there.
Lots of grants. Well,
So
Mr. Bell's
whether-
just wrote a grant.
Whether it's for something that is gonna be a continuing program, or
Right.
whether it's something for building improvement, those are two separate things
Right.
that I don't know.
I can't imagine it'd be that negative to have $1 million. So
Well, especially if it can go to facility improvement, I mean,
Right.
that's a big deal, I mean, and that's a one-shot deal.
I think she made the comments as well that they were close on a grant that was almost enough to either remodel or rebuild the school. So that, I mean, that one would have been a significant one as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it sounds like you guys have a fair amount of questions there for the candidates, so, like I say, if you want to. Any more discussion on anything, guys, or what do you want to do? What's our next step? Damien's ready to pick.
I could pick tonight too.
Sharon's ready to pick. Damien, what are your wishes? You wanna decide it?
Like I said, I wouldn't mind being able to get those, if we can actually get some of that stuff clarified, it would help me out. But that's where I'm at.
The stuff that you need clarified, are those things that we can answer without doing a second round of interviews? I don't, Alexis kinda.
Yeah, that's what I was suggesting, if we can even
Seems kinda
see.
like so, but
Yeah, if we could even just do a written clarification of those items, or I don't know, whatever's allowed.
So,
Oh, she's
I
not.
think what I heard from you guys, or I think is questions about.
you're breaking up on us real bad. I don't know if you can hear us.
Tell her to go up on a hill.
I can hear you. I thought I had 3 bars.
Oh,
There, you're a lot more clear there.
Oh, okay, we'll slam on the brakes. How about now?
Yeah, you're good.
Hold your head just like that. Oh, she cut out.
Still good?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So I think what I heard was that we want to know more about Mr. Ziegler's employment history. And we want to know more about Cheryl's grants. Are those the 2 questions?
So you can Alexis answer the Tyler.
Yeah, yep, that would be 2 that I'd have.
She could know it.
Are there any others?
Got a couple others that if we did a second interview, I'd ask, but I don't think they'd be of consequence to really helping affect my decision, so I'll say no.
Okay, I believe both of those could be follow-up questions to each of the candidates. And I think you could handle that by asking Jody to individually email each candidate. Well, let me take that back. They can be follow-up questions, but in order to, they can be follow-up questions. Jody can individually email each of the candidates, but in order to share the responses with the full board, you're going to need to find a way to meet in a public meeting again, right? So the only problem, or I don't want to say a problem, but the only hiccup is in order to share all of the information with everyone, it has to be in a public meeting.
Does it have to be an email, or could we call them right now?
Can be by, you could call them right now. I don't know that I recommend calling somebody on the spot in a public meeting.
Can if we have a recess or something, can somebody step away to ask?
Yes, you could do that. You could recess, send Jody out to call someone, and send, you could send one of you out to call Russ and one of you out to call Cheryl, and come back and rejoin that way if they're available, and then have them answer that question in the meeting. That would be fine. The only sort of hiccup is that in order to share whatever their answers are with each of you, that has to happen in a public setting. But both of those would be follow-up questions. So,
So if we came back after a break and shared that, we would be fine?
yes.
Okay.
I just did a quick search online. I found 2 articles about Cheryl's grants. It says Drayton receives nearly $500,000, and then the other one said something about 9,000. So, I mean, that was just a quick internet search.
This one says 2,500.
Okay, that's, I mean, it sounds like an option.
I guess I wouldn't really have a concern about her writing grants. I don't foresee that being something that you would really wanna make up. Because
It's
a
public
quick
knowledge.
Google search, I mean, they came up with it in a couple minutes. So I'm not as concerned about that. I believe her. She has no reason to not tell us the truth on that, I wouldn't think.
I'm not doubting her.
No,
Not doubting her one bit.
I guess my question on that is, so she said she applied, if I remember right, for $1 million worth of grants. I'm not sure how much she got. So I guess I wish I'd asked clarification on that at that point. So I don't doubt her either, but I guess it's just that's why I'm leaning, is that I'd hate to pass up that opportunity. So, but before I put all my eggs in that basket, I just wanted clarification on that. So that's interesting that you were able to pull up that kind of information that quick. So.
I guess my thought is I'm still more comfortable if you do it as a second interview with both candidates, because it gives everybody the opportunity to ask their follow-up questions and get a clear answer versus us stepping out and making phone calls and coming back and.
But I guess if that's the only questions that you have is those two, are there other follow-up questions that you wanna know?
Not off the top of my head, no.
So if those are the only questions that, mine's just, I'm on the fence, I just don't even know.
my biggest thing is our administrators that we have all picked Russ Ziegler. He was their top pick.
Yeah, there's a pretty good score that way, and that should count for something.
Absolutely. They're working with them every day.
Yeah.
And they were in the interviews, they sat with us too. They heard everything. I mean, Jesse said one of the biggest things to him is his experience in, especially where he's at.
Well, I mean, in all reality, Russ has 1.5 years of superintendent experience, it's not like it's extensive.
Right.
I mean, Cheryl's got the same amount of experience as he does, if not a little more. I guess that's not, I don't look at it as he's,
Not in the state of North Dakota.
well, she's got 1 year, I mean, 6 months less than what he's got. So I guess I
But
don't,
he's been a principal in
sure,
the state of North Dakota for a lot of years.
yep, absolutely.
I do believe he fits in the community well. I mean, and not that Cheryl would either, she's good, she's a little more eccentric maybe, Sometimes I wonder if that's always a good fit or not, but it would sure be exciting. I'll just tell you guys, if I have to pick tonight, I would pick Russ.
I'm gonna make a motion. I don't know how long we're gonna go back and forth. I'm just gonna make a motion that we hire Russ Ziegler. We're gonna sit here and beat it up all night, and we got 3 good candidates, I agree. Russ, in my opinion, stands out. He's 7 years in this school district, he's DPI, he just.
But just because he worked here doesn't necessarily make that the reason to hire somebody either. I've worked with a lot of people in my career that I certainly don't want to work with again.
Yeah, but he was good here.
Yeah, I
He
don't
was
know.
not,
Yeah,
he was
I
not,
wasn't
he
here
was
when
not.
he was here,
he
so
was
I
not-
can't say whether he was good or
Yeah,
bad.
he was
I'm just
good.
saying,
I'm just saying, I worked with him, I know what he's
Yeah.
like. And he's a great person, he'll listen to staff, he'll work with everybody. I think Russ is gonna be a perfect fit for us, so I'm putting it out there.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. now we need to discuss, more discussion.
Well, I don't know if there's a discuss. You said if there was a vote tonight, you're gonna vote for us. What does it matter? Like, we talked till blue in the face and it's not gonna change anything.
What else, what are your other options when you have a motion and a second? You discuss?
That's
Do
it.
you wanna table it? Do you wanna?
Nope. You have to vote. If there's a motion in a second, you have to vote on it.
Damian, more discussion?
I guess a question for Alexis, if she's even available. When we get to talking about what it looks like to author a contract, is that executive session or is that something that we do in open session?
It does need to be executive session if you're talking about, you know, salary and I believe it's
Okay.
executive. She had said it before.
So you your strategy of negotiating is what permits you to enter executive session. So
Oh,
just like,
see.
right, I mean, just like when you think about teachers, you know, you don't want to give away what your range is in a public meeting because it puts you at a disadvantage. So you could do that tonight if you're ready to do that, but to your question of performance incentives and things like that, you would not have to walk away tonight if the vote were affirmative. You would not have to walk away tonight with the specifics of the contract spelled out. You could, you know, vote to offer the position to Mr. Ziegler if the vote was affirmative. Offer it, and then come back to negotiate the specifics of the contract, right? You know, he could accept pending contract negotiations, that type of thing. You see that happen in the larger districts where they offer it and then it takes them a number of days or a couple of weeks to work out the contract details.
And is that part of our agreement with the School Boards Association with your agency that you help us author the contract? And I guess my concern here is that the last superintendent contract that we offered, I never saw the contract. There was a vote, hire this guy. I never saw the contract offered. I don't want to see that again. I want to see the actual content of the contract. So I guess.
So typically what our contract says is that we have like a sample superintendent contract that we provide you if you want it. Most districts don't want it because you have a typical administrator contract within your district that jives with the way that your district does contracts, your benefits, things like that. If you guys decide that you want to go down the performance incentive route, we would be happy to talk through what the structure of that may look like. I have an attorney on staff that I mean, we are kind of, we would be mutually beneficial to have that conversation while that's not part of our contract, because that conversation is happening on a larger basis. You know, full disclosure, we have not written a contract for a superintendent that includes that language before, but we're hearing that discussion, and so it would be mutually beneficial for us to kind of dive into that a little bit as well. And our attorney is very experienced in employment law, school district employment law. You guys also have an attorney I know that is on retainer, and you may be more comfortable working through her. Whatever route you choose to go, if you were to do something of that nature, I would encourage you to either work with your attorney or our attorney for sure.
No, thank you for those clarifications.
And Damien, we'll get you a copy of our standard contract we've got here too, so you can be part of that.
Appreciate it.
Okay, any other discussion? Anything? Gonna do a roll call vote. Damien, have you heard the motion in the second?
Yes.
Okay. Are you, want any more discussion before we vote?
I'm good, thanks.
Okay, the motion again is for Mr. Russ Ziegler, so I'll start with Dwayne.
Aye.
Shannon,
Aye.
Damien,
Nay.
I'll vote aye. John?
It doesn't matter. Aye.
Thank you. You'll be good. You'll be good.
I'm not saying he's not, I just,
Okay. 4 ayes, 1 nay. So, motion carries. So, do we want to go on to the possible executive session and discuss offer tonight? Or would you like to hold off on that and get contract and look at bonus and all that stuff first? I mean,
well, I think it
it's
would
kind of a
hurt.
big deal.
I don't think it would hurt to at least talk about it. And then see if we can agree on something, and if we can, then move forward, and if we can't, then we go after it again.
Okay.
Do we, Amber, would you have a copy of, could you get us a copy of the superintendent's contract?
Okay, yeah, then we will roll into executive session. Before we do executive session, we wanna, as before, who do you guys want in executive session? I mean, I think we should have our business manager in for sure.
For sure, Amber.
So beyond that, what do you guys want for executive session, and then we can entertain a motion for that.
Well, I don't think we need Jesse or Misty to stay for that.
Okay.
I don't think.
Okay, Damien, do you have an opinion on that?
Yeah, I'm good with just the board. It's there if you want the business manager, I'm good with that as well.
ACT,
Okay.
I'm not going home, I'm gonna order ACT.
And then, so everybody know, are we gonna talk about anything else after that, or once we're done with executive session, are we adjourned? Just so if they don't wanna stay here, they don't have to stay here for that.
Right.
Correct, we will adjourn after executive session, yes, because there is no other
No,
point of business.
Right, I just wanted to make sure so they weren't waiting around for us, make sure to walk out and be like, yep, it's done, you could have left them 20 minutes ago. Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
We do need
This is
more.
Alexis, just confirming if you want me to stay or go.
To discuss salary, or to discuss,
Okay.
superintendent contract.
Okay, do we want Alexis to stay? She asked if we want her to stay.
Could you stay for just a little bit?
I can stay, I just wanted to confirm that you wanted me to stay.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
I think it'd be
Yes.
good.
Please.
Yes,
Yeah.
please. Okay.
Okay,
You
perfect.
can drive for about 10 minutes if you want.
Well, I'm just getting to Mandan, so we're
Oh,
good.
you're good then. Well, how long will it take you to get home, Alexis?
Well, I almost live in Wilton, not quite, but way northeast Bismarck, so you're in good shape.
Where to go?
Yeah, so,
Okay.
we're not gonna hold her on anything then.
But you should have good service to Wilton.
Okay, motion and second. Okay, all in favor of executive session, say aye.
Did you second?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed, same sign. Okay, we'll go to executive session.
Okay, we're good, we can adjourn now.
Okay, we're good.
Now, it's you have to say.
Oh, I
it's
have
adjourned.
to say it again? Okay, meeting adjourned.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Damien.